Hey, what's up, everyone? We're back after a brief 2 week hiatus. That's right, it's another episode of The Breakdown here on the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. I'm your co host coming at you live from Chicago, Illinois, Max Friedman, better known as Trademark MMA, and joining me all the way on the other side of the world. Man, that's crazy. Every time I begin to introduce my illustrious co host, I think about how far away he is. But you know what? He's there all the way in the Netherlands. Big Marcel, the one and only Marcel Dorf. What's up, Big Marcel?
What's up, man? Hey, man, stop with those intros. You're boring me the F out. Just kidding, man. All right, all good, man. How are you doing? Great to be back.
Yeah. Great to be back. We had, as we mentioned, had a brief hiatus last week because no UFC event, but not to worry. UFC heads back over to sort of your neck of the woods, Big Marcel, closer than it is to me over in Stockholm, Sweden. Have you ever been?
Nah, man, it's way out of my budget.
I feel you.
Scandinavia. It's really the most expensive part of Europe. So, yeah.
That's what I hear, but nonetheless, we can't control the event circuit. But
I think we should first congratulate Kyle Steele with his newborn and his family. So, congratulations, man, and your family, and wish you all the best on your newborn kid.
yeah, congratulations to one of the head honchos of the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network, Kyle Steele, welcomed a new one into his family earlier this week. So all the best to Kyle. That being said, we are the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. You can find this anywhere you get your podcasts: iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, whatever has you. Go ahead and go check us out. Some really great shows on the network. That Not Safe for Work MMA show. Kyle runs it with Fred Kirby. Those guys are really funny. Don't listen around your kids though. That is not suitable for work or children. Also got MMA yesterday, Kyle and Keith, and rumor has we might be having a new member join that staff. Always fun to look back at fights of years past, and the brand new revamped Between the Links. Really fun show, has kicked off well. This is MMA's version of ESPN's Around the Horn. Mike Heck, the great Mike Heck, has taken over as the host there, and now the panelists include the great Davidson Baker, the former host Craig Allen, and Keith Schillen, Shill the Thrill. And and Big Marcel, I believe both of us will be invited back at some point to participate on the show. And I'm issuing my warning right now to Davidson, Craig, and Keith. Get ready, because once the breakdown crew comes on there, we're bringing the fire, man. They don't want this smoke, Big Marcel.
How much time?
Anyways, we got a big event coming up in Stockholm this weekend, UFC Fight Night 153. And as we always do, Big Marcel, is that the correct event number? Did we ever get confirmation?
The UFC Fight Night. What's it? 153, indeed. Yeah, because it was
Yeah.
152 before. So yeah, it's 153
Okay.
now.
So we're just going to assume we're back on track after that Fort Lauderdale fiasco back in
I,
April.
I'm curious what they're gonna do with the UFC on ESPN2 card, man. What are we gonna name that? Because there's one upcoming this year. So
USP on ESPN 2-1.
yeah. Oh, shut up.
That comes at you live June 1st, 2019, from the Ericsson Globe in Stockholm, Sweden. That's actually going to kick off real early. ESPN on ESPN2 here stateside. I believe that's 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, which, if my calculations are correct, that's a 6 p.m. start for you, Big Marcel, or 4 p.m.
4 p.m., man.
4 p.m. And then main card coming at you, I believe, at noon our time, so 7 p.m. for Big Marcel. What are you going to do in the wee hours of the morning? It's you're not watching fights
Yeah.
that night.
Bro, we have Ryzen the day after, so all
Oh
good.
yeah, good card, good rising card for sure.
Yeah, they're all good. With intermission of an hour between the last three fights. And,
That's how they do it.
yeah.
But anyway, we had a card a couple weeks back that was in Rochester. Big Marcel and I only actually had one pick differently, and that was an Ed Herman Patrick Cummins fight. Ed Herman cashing in as an underdog for me, winning the event with a mighty 7-6 record to Big
Robbery.
Marcel's 6-7, bringing
Robbery.
us to to the standings on the year. 117 and 82 for me. Big Marcel's got 109 and 90. That's a 58% clip for me, 54 for Big Marcel. Still beating me in the bonus department, though, 14 to 11. And then I have picked 6 underdogs correctly. Big Marcel has 4. Looking ahead to the Stockholm card, Big Marcel, what are you most excited about?
What I'm most excited about the week after UFC 238. That was nasty. Now I'm really curious about Alexander Rakic against Jimmy Manuwa. I really want to see where Rakic's stock is at. I mean, if he beats Manuwa, he's probably top 10. So I'm really looking forward to that fight. I think the Stosic Clark fight is really intriguing. I don't know why it's so low on the card, but yeah, those are mostly the fights I'm looking forward to. Those two, those are having my attention.
All right. Well, as you know, here on the breakdown, we break down all the fights top to bottom. So we're going to go ahead and kick things off. And you know what, Big Marcel, I did not confirm that this fight is in fact kicking it off. I believed it was because it was not listed on the UFC's official or the ESPN official page. But the fight between the debuting welterweights, is that kicking things off
No, the
first?
first fight is Danilo Belluardo against Joel Alvarez.
Oh, that is first. Okay. All right. We'll come back to it then. First fight of the year of the evening, as my illustrious co-host just said, Italy's Danilo Belluardo making his UFC debut, taking on Spain's Joel Alvarez. Near even money line in this one, minus 115 for Alvarez, minus 105 for Belluardo. Alvarez, El Fenomeno, the Spaniard, he's 15 and 2 overall. Dropped his UFC debut, but showed some toughness against Damir Ismagulov. That did snap a previous 10-fight winning streak. Lots of wins on his record, lots of finishes, especially by a choke on that 15 and 2 overall record. Belluardo, I was happy to see him get signed. I mean, he's still only 24. Had some losses to up and coming talents, guys like AJ McKee in Bellator, Stefano Paterno, the former Cage Warriors champion, but he has rattled off 6 straight wins and 5 via finish. Big Marcel, what's going on in this first bout of the evening?
Yeah, man, it's I think it's a pretty even matchup. Belluardo signed with the UFC, coming from Venator. He was the champion there. Nice 6-fight win streak. Alvarez had a high ceiling when he came to the UFC, but he had a debut against Ismagulov, which is pretty tough debut if people know Ismagulov, the former M1 champion. Man, this is also where there's also again a coin flip fight for me, but I'm going with Alvarez, probably by being too good on the ground and with the top level game, and probably by I don't think he will stop him. Probably a decision win for Joel Alvarez.
Yeah, Joel Alvarez is tough, but I like where we're headed because in this first fight of the evening, I'm going the other way. I'm going Belluardo. I think he's really improved his game ever since that loss to AJ McKee. I'm excited to see him come to the UFC, but wouldn't be surprised if Alvarez gets it done. Give me Danilo Belluardo, the Italian, via unanimous decision here. All right, so Big Marcel, before we keep going, where on this card are the debuting welterweights Sergey Kandashka and Rostam Akman?
Featured prelim.
Featured prelim. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's no longer Evinger and
Nope. Landsberg.
All right. And all right, let me move that up. My apologies. The ESPN did not have the bout order yesterday when I wrote this incorrectly. All right. Light heavyweight action next on tap. Devin Clark against Darko Stosic. This is a fight Big Marcel already mentioned. One to look out for in a very close betting line in this one too. Devin Clark, a minus 120 favorite, comeback on Stosic, plus 100, even money underdog. Devin Clark, we know up and down since coming to the UFC via that Dana White looking for a fight show. 3-3, coming off a TKO loss to Alexander Rakic, who we'll see later in the evening. He is a Jackson Winklejohn guy, primary sparring partner of John Jones, one of them. Stosic, meanwhile, 27 years old, 13-1 overall, 1-0 in the UFC. Big Marcel, where's this one going?
Man, this is a great matchup, I think. I mean, Devin Clark, he lost his last fight against Alexander Rakic, but he looked good in the beginning of that fight. Pretty solid fights against Mike Rodriguez and Jake Collier in the UFC. I mean, he lost to Jan Blachowicz, but who doesn't lately? Thiago Santos doesn't, but Darko Stosic, great prospect, I think. Had a good debut against Jeremy Kimball. Was supposed to fight Magomed Ankalaev earlier this year. That fight didn't happen. On the other side, I'm happy it didn't happen because I think Ankalaev and Stosic are both big prospects in the division, and I don't want to see one getting killed so early in their UFC careers. So, but I'm taking Stosic here, man. He has everything to get in the top 10 of this division. Clark is definitely a tough test, I think, for him, but I see him winning this one probably by TKO in the second round.
Yeah, give me Darko Stosic on a TKO, but I think he gets him out of there early. Devin Clark seems to have some problems with the big hitters, and Stosic is a hulk of power in that frame. All right, we got a women's featherweight fight, second straight fight card with one on it.
Bantam.
Oh, this is at 135?
Yeah, so according to the UFC, it is. So
Interesting. All
yeah,
right. Well,
I didn't know before 2 days ago, so I also thought it was featherweight, but it's bantam.
okay. Apparently, we got another fight on women's bantamweight, 135 pounds. Bea Malecki taking on Duda Santana. Bea Malecki is a minus 120 favorite. Santana plus 100 on the betting line there. Malecki, Ultimate Fighter Season 28 contestant, had an absolute war with Leah Letson on the show. Showed some decorated boxing in striking skills in that one, but only 1-0 as a pro. So, but I was not surprised to see that Bea Malecki got signed, given that she's a very attractive female. Say what you want about that trend in the sport. Training between the All Stars in Sweden and Fortis MMA down in Dallas with Macy Chason. Duda Santana, meanwhile, Cowboy Zinha. That's a fun nickname. I've seen her, I believe, 3-0 as a record, but also I've seen it listed as 6-0. So TBD on that. She's out of Brazil. Gotta favor the Swede Malecki in this one in her hometown. But Big Marcel, what do we make of this fight?
Sometimes I wonder what's with the X records, man. I mean, you remember Alexandra Albu? She's like 3-1 now, and
Stitch.
UFC is yeah, and UFC is like 8-0. And I was like, why do you get these fights? Why do you get these fights? But okay, Bea Malecki is actually 1-0 in the pro MMA. Duda Santana is 3 or 4-0. I don't know for sure. But yeah, Duda Santana was supposed to fight Lorana Carolina on the Contender Series Brazil, but she had visa issues. Um, that's maybe why she gets the chance. Bea Malecki, like you said, why she got the chance. Not really intrigued by this fight, but seeing Malecki winning on home soil, probably by a decision, being better in the stand-up.
Look at you dropping that Contender Series tidbit over there, Big Marcel.
Hey Nolan, how are you doing, my friend?
All right, let's move along. We got a fight at 155 pounds, and it is a coin flip, according to Vegas. The German Nick Hein, the sergeant, taking on Frank Camacho out of Guam. Big Marcel, you kick things off on this one.
Yeah, intriguing fight, man. I mean, Nick Hein, he was actually supposed to fight Luigi Vendramini, but Vendramini had to pull out due to an injury. Frank Camacho, I don't know if I can tell this because this is not my info, so I don't know. But he was supposed to fight on this card against someone else actually, but I'm not gonna say any name or whatever. But so these two, it's actually a very exciting fighter against a very good fighter, but not very exciting fighter. I think Camacho is a very exciting fighter to watch. Nick Hein is pretty much the opposite, but he's a very all round fighter. And man, I met him in person, super nice guy. So I don't want to say anything bad about him. 2-fight losing streak right now against Davi Ramos and Damir Hadzovic. Camacho is also on a 2-fight losing streak. For me, it's a coin flip this one, but I think Camacho can get the decision here, man. I really think that because Camacho is such a power fighter, pressure and all, and Nick Hein is really more of a point kind of fighter. But that can also be the trap for Camacho to fall in. I hope not, because man, this is pretty much a lose or lease down fight, I think. But I'm taking Camacho by a very close split decision. He's the king of split decisions, so pretty much I see him winning by split decisions. I don't know why I call him the king of split decisions because he only had one split decision, but for me, he's always in
It
crazy
seems like he's
fights.
in razor close
Yeah,
fights, though.
exactly.
Yeah, I feel you. 14-4-1 overall, and he's 4-3 in the UFC. But you mentioned the two fights, Gid. In both of those outings, just doesn't seem to have that firepower in him anymore that we once saw from him. I mean, that war he had with James Vick, I believe it was in 2015 or 14.
Re-
You know,
Remember, he was supposed to fight in Rotterdam against Sabit Magomed-Sharipov.
that's right. That was what is it, second UFC outing was supposed to be for Zabit?
The first, it was a debut,
Oh,
and it was at 145 for Hein. Would that be? Yeah.
and then he ended up getting pushed to Shaman Morais in China, right?
No, he fought Mike Santiago, and I forgot
Oh
his.
man, that's
Yeah,
right. He did have the late notice replacement.
yeah.
Anyway, Camacho's had trouble making 55 in the past, but nonetheless, he gets another crack at this weight class. And I'm with you, man. There's a reason they re-signed him at only 1-3. He got another full four fight deal. But I think he has the advantage on the feet in this one, and I can't see Hein using that judo to get Camacho to the ground. I'm taking Camacho unanimous decision in this one.
My God, man, do you have to really pick the same as me? I was like, maybe I did have this one, but no, he's going with Camacho as well. My God.
All right. Well, I'm interested to see how you're leaning on this next one because it's an interesting fight. Battle at 155 between Stevie Braveheart Ray and Leonardo Santos. Leo Santos, Scotland. Stevie Ray, 22-8, still only 29 years old. 3-3 in his last six after starting that UFC career 3-0. Santos, meanwhile, serious layoff. He's been out of action since October of 2016. He's had a couple fights in the works, I believe, two with Olivier Aubin-Mercier that both have gotten scrapped. And the guy's 16-3-1. He is 39 years old. He was the winner of the Ultimate Fighter Brazil Season 2, although if you remember, Santiago Ponzinibbio got hurt on the show, and he actually had beaten Santos, and then he ultimately replaced him. We've seen this trend of guys coming off layoffs this year. I mean, Alexander Yakovlev, Magomed Mustafayev, a few that come to mind. But man, usually it's tough to get the layoff. But Vegas is favoring Santos here, -210 on the betting line. Stevie Ray +175. Big Marcel, break down this lightweight fight for us.
Yeah, man, I agree with Vegas, man. I think I was actually shocked he's 39. I didn't know that, but Leo Santos always looks solid in his fights. Although I think his fight against Adriano Martins could have gone to Martins as well as latest fight in 2016 already. He's been out for a long time. I like his style. I think he's very good on the ground. Yeah, he actually submitted Anthony Rocco Martin. I mean, that's pretty impressive. He TKO'd Kevin Lee. That's impressive. Um, Stevie Ray, he won his last fight against Yasin Ayari, but I say it, people in the media don't like to use the word, but he got robbed against Cajun Johnson in this fight. He would clearly won that, in my opinion. So he's on a two-fight winning streak, in my opinion. Yeah, but if I look at the complete package, I think Leonardo Santos gets him to the ground and submits him. So probably a second round submission for Leo Santos, for the Brazilian.
All right. Well, I know the two examples I mentioned that came off those layoffs both got finishes and wins in their returns, but I'm going to go the other way here. I don't think Leo Santos's wrestling is going to be good enough to get Stevie Ray down and holding him down for 15 minutes and getting that submission. I mean, Stevie Ray's been in there with guys like Alan Patrick and Marcin Bandel, some really high level grapplers. So I'm going to go ahead and favor Ray here. Unanimous decision, just winning the battles on the feet. All right. We move things along. Another bout at 135 pounds on the women's side. Number 12 ranked Tanya Evinger, a -280 favorite against the number 13 ranked Lena Landsberg out of Sweden, +240 on the comeback for the Elbow Queen. Isn't that her name? The Elbow Queen? Elbow Princess? Elbow Queen.
Yeah. She was first the Elbow Princess, and when she came to the UFC, it was the Elbow Queen.
That's what I thought. Okay, I'm not crazy. I was gonna. All right, I was thinking about that for a while this morning. Anyway, Evinger, very well traveled, 19-8 overall, 37 years old, 0-2 in the UFC though, so that job may be on the line. Although very thin division, as we know. Wrestler, good top pressure. decently well-rounded. Seems to have a clear advantage in this one against Lena Landsberg, but Landsberg, home country fight, 8-4, 2-2 in the UFC, coming off a loss to Yana Kunitskaya. If she can keep it on the feet and avoid that clinch, she might be able to do some damage like she did against Gina Mazzani. But can she keep Tanya Evinger off of her for 15 minutes? I don't see that happening. I'm taking Evinger unanimous decision. Big Marcel, where are you going on this one? Besides the bathroom.
Evinger takes her out, man. Submission. Second round. Rear naked choke. I'm absolutely not impressed by Lena Landsberg, to be honest. And even in our home country, I don't see her winning against Tanya Evinger, pioneer, women's pioneer, MMA. Solid fighter. I mean, she came short against Aspen Ladd, but who didn't so far. So, yeah, I'm taking Tanya Evinger to finally get a win in the UFC, man.
Finally. Could be the first. Although she's had a tough go. I mean, Chris Cyborg and Aspen Ladd, those are two killers. So it'll be interesting to see how she does with the step down in competition. And remember, Evinger, I know MMA math doesn't always work, but she does hold a pretty firm win over Yana Kunitskaya. Was also submitted in another fight with her, too. So
yeah,
interesting to see how that plays out. All right, featured prelim time. And we got two UFC newcomers, Sergey Handozhka. Hopefully I said that right. I was trying to, I looked up a couple videos to make sure. Ken Handozhka taking on Rostam Akman. Honda Handozhka. Honestly, quite a surprising signing. And correct me if I'm wrong, Big Marcel, but was this another scoop from MMA DNA?
Let me think. No, was not a scoop. I posted that he signed, but
his signing, not this fight though.
No, I mean that was not really a scoop. I think more people knew about it in the Russian community, though, so I can't call it a scoop. But I was pretty much the first one who put it on Twitter, I think. But it was not my scoop.
Gotcha. Well, that's how I recall seeing it coming first from Big Marcel 24. Anyway, the guy's got a world of experience. I mean, he's 26, 5-1 before his 27th birthday, but you look at his last 9 and he's 5-4. And the 2 losses in that time, one came to Benny Alloway, 1-2 in the UFC, and Stanislav Lysenko, who he had beaten in the fight before via decision, but then was finished. So a real kind of head scratcher signing here based on previous line of work. Meanwhile, was supposed to face Bartosz Fabinski. He gets replaced by a last-minute Rostam Akman, 6-0 out of Sweden. Sort of the obvious choice to take the place here, considering he's a welterweight. Another tidbit, was actually slated to compete on the Contender Series later this summer, although the bout was not officially announced yet. 6 finishes on his record, but significant experience disadvantage in this one. Big Marcel, break down some of these 2 newcomers.
Dude, Sergey Handozhko, Russian, obviously, 2-fight winning streak. Like you said, pretty surprising signing, but he's an okay fighter, man. I think it's hard to say anything because he fought against tough competition, and against a tough competition he didn't do that well, I think. But man, now he fights Rostam Akman, and Rostam Akman is a solid competitor, man. He is a 2 times winner of the International MMA Federation European Open Championships. That's the amateur level, but those are pretty huge titles to have on your name as an amateur. Undefeated in his pro MMA career, got off a win this month earlier against Mauricio Reis in the Superior Challenge organization in Sweden.
Good promotion, by the way, Superior Challenge. They put on some good fights and have a lot of big show veterans competing.
Yeah, lately they have put on some great cards, man. Yeah, I got to go with Rostam Akman here, man. I think Handozhko has the experience, but the amateur experience of Akman is also pretty big, and man, he's impressive in his fights. He has a 100% finishing record on in his pro fights. So, man, I'm picking Akman probably by TKO. I don't know which round.
All right. Well, one thing I want to point out is, first of all, shout out to all those guys on Twitter, get men and women who do the video compiling and put them up there for free for all of us. Joe Lasanda, Grabica Hitman, all those guys. Kyle Johnson too. Um,
Yeah,
they really help us out. And one thing I noticed was Rostam Akman has while he has some big time power, he also has been rocked many times in his fights already. And like you mentioned, the amateur experience too. He's definitely more well traveled than that 6-0 record, but he's coming into this one on maybe 8 days notice, 9 days notice. So yeah, he was training for a fight later this summer, but um, I just got to think Ken Doshkov, given that he's been in camp the whole time, should have the advantage here. And like you said, he did okay against top competition, but against some of the up and coming talents, he actually has some wins on his record. So give me Honda to get it done, unanimous decision. But I think actually Ackman has the higher ceiling in the UFC. But coming in on short notice here, I don't like him this quickly. And we did not mention the line there, but Honda is a minus 165 favorite. Comeback on Ackman is plus 145. So Big Marcel going with the underdog.
yeah.
All right. We head to the main card, and kicking things off is one of Sweden's own, Daniel Tamor, taking on the newcomer out of South Korea, Sung Bin Jo. Tamor, kind of surprised he got another one, although this is in Sweden. He is 0-3 in the UFC now and finished twice in those three fights. He's a decorated striker, but he has not put it together to find that success in the UFC yet. Meanwhile, Korean Falcon, UFC newcomer Sung Bin Jo, pretty high profile signing here. He is 9-0 overall. And man, there just seems to be tons of talent emerging out of South Korea. He was actually slated to fight Sung Woo Choi, a guy that we've already saw debut in the UFC this year against Movsar Evloev. He ended up taking a loss there, but these two were actually supposed to fight, and ironically enough, both end up getting signed to the UFC. While debuts have not been kind to newcomers in 2019, I just can't see Daniel Tamor getting a win in a UFC fight. So I'm taking Joe. I think it gets him out of there early with a TKO. But Big Marcel, where you at on this one?
I have nothing more to add, man. I think Sang Bin Jo has a high ceiling, and I see him winning this fight as well by an early TKO. So, yeah, I think I don't hope so for him, but I think this is the last UFC fight for Daniel Tamor for now, man.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Too bad David Tamor was not medically cleared to fight on this card because I know he would have loved to compete in his home country. All
Okay.
right, really close fight at 155 pounds next up, and actually the betting line would suggest that it's not that close of a fight. Damir Hadzovic, Bosnian bomber, minus 175 favorite against Christos Hiagos, a plus 155 underdog. Big Marcel kicked things off for this bout at 155 pounds.
Yeah, man, Christos Giagos, he's on a second run in the UFC. He has done 1-1 so far. He won against Mizuto Hirota, but let's be honest, almost everybody wins against Mizuto Hirota in the UFC. So, yeah, Charles Oliveira, he lost that one. That was, I mean, who does? Everybody has a different fight, a difficult fight when they fight Charles Oliveira. So, no problem there. But he has some solid wins in the ACB against Harrison Batista, for example, losing to Nikayev before that, but Nikayev still undefeated. Damir Hadzovic is on a nice streak so far, 2 wins, Paulo Reyes and Nick Hein. Um, Man, two losses in the UFC against ground BJJ specialist Alan Patrick and knockout specialist Merbek Taizumov. Um, man, I, I'm pretty impressed lately by Hadzovic, man. I think he fought very well in his last two fights, although a split decision against Nick Khan should have been unanimous in my opinion. But the Paulo Reyes fight was very solid. Christos Giagos, can't count him out, but I'm taking Hadzovic by unanimous decision in this one.
I like the way Hadzovic is putting it together. He is absolutely massive for the weight class too. I actually met him last year at my jiu-jitsu gym. I rode the elevator with him, and I walk around at about 170 pounds, and this guy was taller, thicker, and larger than me. I don't know how the heck that guy makes 155 pounds. Um, Man, like you said, the impressive run with the Bosnian bomber here. This could be a fun battle on the feet. Christos Hiagos has been around the block, though, really big time veteran. You mentioned he competed in ACB, former RFA champion, I believe, fought all over the California regional circuit. He's just a tough guy, and you really don't know what you're going to get. And I think he's just well rounded enough where he might just squeak this one out. So give me Hiagos on a decision in this one. I'm just not quite 100% there on Hadzovic yet, but man, he looked awesome against Polo Reyes. So if that guy comes out to fight, he's going to be dangerous. And what was your method of victory, Big Marcel TKO?
No decision then.
Okay. All right. Moving things along at featherweight. Makwan Amirkhani taking on Chris Fishgold, a nice European MMA standout clash here. Mr. Finland, Amirkhani back, 14-3 overall, 4-1 in the UFC, and coming off a win over Jason Knight. He's only fought once, he's only fought once in 2018, once in 2017, once in 2016, and then twice in 15. So I'd really just hate those layoffs. You know, when I really don't like that inactivity. Meanwhile, Fishgold, world of experience for the former Cage Warriors champion, 18-1 overall. Kate got his first UFC win over Daniel Tamor. He's 1-1 in the UFC now. -120 for Fishgold, +100 from Amirkhani. There's been all kinds of movement on this one. It opened up with even favored in Amirkhani, back favored to Fishgold. Big Marcel, what's going on in this one?
Man, Makwan Amirkhani, yeah, for some reason, I never felt this hype. I think, I don't want to call him overrated, but people expect more from him than I think he does so far, man. I mean, his last fight against Jason Knight, he won that by split decision. I still think he lost that one, in my opinion. He only won the first round, in my opinion. Chris Fishgold, he's a pretty solid fighter from Liverpool. He was the Cage Warriors champion. Came in with a loss against Calvin Kattar, but I mean, Kattar is a top 15 guy, so that can happen. Good showing against Daniel Tamor in his last fight earlier this year. Man, close fight, taking Fishgold because I think many people are going with Amirkhani, and I really don't see the hype with Amirkhani, and I think Fishgold has more tools to win this one.
Yeah, I like Amirkhani's offensive wrestling, but like you said, I just don't see the developing skill set there. I know he talked on Ariel Helwani's podcast about his work doing a lot of amateur boxing, but I like Fishgold to snatch up that guillotine in this one early in the second round. So give me Fishy, the former Cage Warriors champ, to get it done here. All right. The second fight that Big Marcel is very excited about is at light heavyweight, and the number 11 ranked Jimmy Manuwa takes on Alexander Rakic. And Big Marcel, maybe I missed this, but I looked at the rankings yesterday, and Alexander Rakic was not in the top 15 at 205. Could that be right?
Yeah, he's not. Maybe after this one.
That's mind-blowing considering the state of that division, but okay. We'll go ahead and move on from that. Rakic is a -220 favorite in this one. Manuwa is +180. Really hard position for him, though. Once considered a title challenger, he faces the real possibility of a 4 straight loss. Finished in 2 of 3. Finished all of his pro losses, actually. Meanwhile, Rakic just seems like he's on the rise here in this division. I mean, he's 11-1, 3-0 in the UFC. Lost his pro debut, but he is unbeaten since. The 27-year-old Austrian Big Marcel, do we got a new contender at 205 here, or does Jimmy Manuwa find a way to pull this out?
I like to think so. We got a new contender, man. I saw his debut live in Rotterdam against Francima Barroso, and honestly, he did well, but I wasn't too impressed by that one because I thought it was a pretty boring fight, to be honest. But after that, man, he completely destroyed Justin Ledet, man, and Devin Clark. He had a tough first 2 minutes, I think, but he turned that around. And if he has that same thing against Jimmy Manuwa will finish him if that's happening again. But I think he's learned from this one, and I see Rakic winning this one probably by second or third round TKO. And I think we have a new contender in the light heavyweight division. And I hope so because the division needs new contenders, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. I I think he should already be in the top 15, and after this fight, he 100% would be in the top 10. I think he gets it done TKO in the second, but watch out, man. They always say power's the last to go, and as we know, Manoa does always have that power in his hands. But an aging guy like him who has a hard time taking the punches like he used to, I got to favor Rakic in this one to get it done. All right, co-main event time, and we stick around at 205 pounds. Volkan Ozdemir, the number 7 ranked light heavyweight, he is a -120 favorite against the even money underdog Ilir Latifi, sitting at number 9 in the rankings. Home game for Ilir, the sledgehammer Latifi in this one. Big Marcel, lead things off for us this one.
Volkan coming off a 3-fight losing skid, man, but he fought Daniel Cormier, Anthony Smith, and Dominic Reyes. And we got to say the Dominic Reyes fight he maybe should have won. Ilir Latifi had a pretty nice streak with the Tyson Pedro and Ovince St. Preuwen, but got snatched late last year against Corey Anderson. To be honest, it's not really a fight I'm looking forward to because I think this can be really getting boring. I see Ilir Latifi winning a decision by using his wrestling, so I think that's going to happen.
You know, Ilir Latifi really had that momentum, and you talked about it. Got shut out on the scorecards to Corey Anderson, but prior to that, he had won back-to-back fights. Although he is 35, another one coming out of that All Stars gym with plenty other fighters on the card. No time, Ozdemir. You talked about the controversial loss to Dom Reyes. That was his 3rd straight, but I thought he showed some well-rounded development last time out. We know he can take a punch and has power in his hands, and Ilir Latifi's been susceptible to some of those big strikes in the past. Give me Volkan, no time, dropping a big hammer in this one.
Stop the process. Ozdemir versus Latifi is off this Saturday Stockholm card. Latifi was forced to withdraw to a back injury.
Who had to withdraw?
Latifi.
Oh man, just when we were getting good, we had another difference too.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're breaking news here on the LoudMouth MMA podcast network on the breakdown. No more co-main events, so we'll go ahead and scratch that off and move things along. Best of luck and recovery to Latifi. I know he would have loved a chance to compete at home, but too bad that fight's off the card.
Damn, dude, that sucks.
That really does. We stay at 205 for the main event here. Alexander Gustafsson, no surprise, he is the main event in Sweden. The big Swede currently sitting at number 2 in the rankings at 205 pounds, a -325 favorite against the number 4 ranked Anthony Lionheart Smith, +265 comeback there. The battle of light heavyweights here coming off title losses to John Bones Jones. Gus finished, we know, at UFC 232, Smith losing that decision at UFC 235. Smith, man, tough as they come. But to me, this fight, it just seems like the bottom line of this division right now is Alexander Gustafsson just seems to beat everyone not named John Jones or Daniel Cormier. It just seems like he finds a way to get it done. I think he gets a decision here. I don't know if he can finish Anthony Smith. That guy is tough as nails, but that's how I see it going. Big Marcel, you see anything else?
No, man, Gustafsson is not going to lose this fight. Definitely not in front of his hometown crowd, and probably a decision win, man. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't see him finishing Anthony Smith. I think Smith is super tough, like you said, and decision win for Alexander Gustafsson. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Although, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Anthony Johnson finish him in Sweden?
He did, but he won.
Different type of fighter.
Yeah, I know that was I think he even considered quitting after that one or retiring. Yeah. That was pretty sad because many people were expecting that Gustafsson was going to solidify his name there, and he got knocked out of the first round. That was pretty tough for him, but I'm glad he got back, and I think he looks better than ever lately. So that's a good thing.
Big Marcel, what do you think about Anthony Smith taking this fight nearly less than 3 months after his intense title fight with John Bones Jones?
He said he wanted some rest, and then they gave him this fight, and I think Anthony Smith is like, if I win this one, I'm still again in the mix to get a new title shot again. So, yeah, I think that's the reason why he took it. Plus, it's a headlining fight, so yeah.
All right. Well, before we get going here, we got to pick our bonuses and our underdog and our lock. So let's start with the lock. Looking up and down the card, Big Marcel, who's the one that you know will get it done come Saturday?
Well, I'm 100% sure that one, do you mean?
Yeah, the lock of the
Uh,
night.
the lock of the night. Sounds interesting. Darko Stosic.
Darko Stosic. Okay. Man, I don't. This is tough. I mean, the obvious choice for me is Alexander Gustafsson, but huh.
Go with Volkan Oezdemir.
Give me Frank Camacho on the lock for me. I like him in
Damn,
that. I like him in that matchup.
that's a bold statement, dude.
Yeah, you know what? I want to even it out a little bit. All right,
Yeah.
underdog. I'll go first on this one. Let's see. My options are um, Christos Hiagos. Got uh, Stevie Braveheart Ray, Danilo Belluardo, Darko Stosic.
Stosic underdog?
Stosic is an underdog.
Oh.
Um, hmm, tough. Give me Darko Stosic, underdog money. All right, Big Marcel, your options for underdog for the evening: Darko Stosic, Rostam Akman, and that's all I got for you.
No, I'm not going to be a bitch, so let's do Rostam Akman.
Hey, you're welcome to take the same underdog.
Nah, man, that's stupid, man, to do that, so I don't do that. I
Okay.
also had him already as lock of the night, so.
All right. We need a fight of the night, and you are up first, my friend.
Great. Um, yeah, you can pick Frank Camacho, but Nick Hein, I don't see him in the fight of the night, to be honest. Uh, let's go with Alexander Rakic against Jimmy Manuwa.
Yeah, you know what? I think that does have some sleeper fight of the night potential there. Um, oh man, that's tough. That's tough. Huh. I will go.
10 days later.
Man, this is a tough card to pick
I
bonuses.
know, yeah, I know.
Give me the main event: Gustafson and and uh, and Anthony Smith. All right, performance of the night bonus. I got two for you. Sung Bin Joe and Alexander Rakic are my picks for that. Where are you at with the performances?
Alexander Rakic and Darko Stosic.
Going all in on
Going with
Mr. Stosic.
we're going with the Ichis.
All right. Let's go ahead and get a review of our picks before we wrap things up and get out of here. First fight of the night.
Especially for Shell the Trail.
Show the thrill indeed. I'm going newcomer Danilo Belluardo. Big Marcel's got Joel Alvarez in a 155-pound clash. Both taking Darko Stosic to get it done over Devin Clark. He is my underdog pick for the evening. He is Marcel's lock pick as well as his performance of the night bonus winner. We both are taking Bea Malecki to get it done in her UFC debut against fellow newcomer Duda Santana. Both taking Frank Camacho over Nick Hein, and Frank Camacho is my lock pick of the evening. I'm already starting to second guess it, but nonetheless, I'm sticking with it. We're split on the next one. I got Stevie Ray. He's got Leo Santos, a successful UFC return. Both have Tanya Evinger over Lena Landsberg. Split on the next one at 170. Sergey Kandoshka. I'm taking him. Honda to get it done. Big Marcel's got Rostam Akman to get it done in front of his home crowd. Both taking Sung Bin Jo on a successful UFC debut over Daniel Tamor. Split at 155 in this next one. Big Marcel's got Damir Hadzovic. I've got Christos Hiagos. Both taking Chris Fishgold to beat Makwan Amirkhani. Both taking Alexander Rakic to beat Jimmy Manoa. That is Big Marcel's fight of the night pick, as well as one of his performance of the night bonuses. So calling the $100,000 walk away for Alexander Rakic. Him and Sungmin Jo are my performance of the night bonus winners. And in the main event, because of the unfortunate circumstance that took out the co-main, we're both taking Alexander Gustafsson, and that is my pick for fight of the night. Big Marcel, before we get out of here, as always, let the people know where they can find and follow all your great content.
MMA DNA, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, MMADNA.nl, and Big Marcel 24 on Twitter and Instagram. And that's it, man. Thanks again, dude. I always appreciate it, and I always love to do these things with you. And thanks to everybody else. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening, and see you next week in UFC 238. And I'm really pumped for that one, man. And
Yeah.
follow my boy Trademark MMA as well, Twitter.
The feeling is mutual, Big Marcel. As you know, this is something I look forward to every week. And before I plug my own Twitter handle, I want to say everyone check out Big Marcel's interview with Ramiz Brahimai of Fortis MMA. Great piece he did there. Just turned that out yesterday. Really fun read. Cool to hear about how he's really developing in a camp that's really come and burst on the scene the last 2 years, as well as some of the guys he's working with. So definitely worth checking out ahead of his Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series fight with Miguel Baeza later this summer. You can find me on Twitter, Trademark MMA. Haven't written in a while, just a lot of time commitments, other things. Plus, I can't ditch my boy Big Marcel. That's my priority is the podcast. We are The Breakdown here on the LoudMouth MMA Podcast Network. Be sure to check out all the other shows. Find, follow, subscribe. Really appreciate everyone, and we will be back next week. UFC 238 on deck. Looking forward to it. Thank you, everybody, and good night.